And let's try and find more news. Oh my, this is like so fast. Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna, I need to get my brain going again. I need to get my skills going. Mm, mm, I'm talking. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, yeah. This is, I'm sure, in response to the stuff with again Skybrowse Discord that I'm not going into. I don't know if I should open Discord. I don't know even know how they really use Discord. Oh, that's a cute leaflet. Leaflet as a fox too. Oh, yeah, pets. Um, okay, my view on this cat. They are planning ways. They are plotting against you, and are deciding the best mode of attack. That's what that face looks like. Oh, I need a cute little fox. Yes, we need some palate cleansers after that news. A police cat. Aww. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Yeah, that's like the fox watching the hen house. Cats upholding the law. I just want to say. Is this there now? Where's Oz? Yeah, a super soaker. Oh, airplane? Uh, Oh, that's cool. That's why you want this character to die, so people won't yeah, people do. Is it really National Siamese Cat Day? Oh, I need to look at that. Is it really? Is it really? Is it really? I must know. I must know. This is big news. Okay, gotta be quiet. It's, yeah, coinciding with early spring and other observations like National Burrito Day and National Sorry Charlie Day. Oh, I'm sorry. I keep hitting my hand into the microphone. I apologize if that makes a loud noise for you. I'm trying to laugh and. Burrito, sorry, Charlie. Man, they have such weird. That's what I need to start doing. Is doing like the weird holidays they have. Because they got holidays for everything. Seriously. So, yeah, what other things? Let's just go look now. Well, get more specific. How many total today? I can do this every day. Oh, well, that's way too bright. That's way too bright. I gotta. Okay. National Siamese Cat Day. National Student Athlete Day. New Beer's Eve. I have never heard of New Beer's Eve. It's also Army Day, Brewing Opitz Syndrome Day, California Poppy Day, Chakri Day, Community Garden Week, Drowsy Driver Awareness Day, Dingus Day. It is also Dingus Day. That is a real thing. Right here. Easter Monday, Evolution of Dance Day. Okay, Okay, why are you showing picture of fat butts? Dude, get out of, oh, that's disgusting. Fresh Tomato Day. International Day for Sport and of Sport for Development and Peace. Jump Over Things Day. National Acai Bowl Day. National Caramel Popcorn Day. Oh, I should run to the store. Well, then I should run to the store and get some caramel popcorn before the collab today. Oh well. National Carbonara Day. I do like carbonara. National Food Faces Day. So make faces in your food. Okay, that's an actual thing. National Gang Day. National J Day. National Library Day. National Pajama Day. Okay, I'm already doing that. I'm in my pajamas. Just so you know. National Parker Day. National Robert Day. National Taylor. Are you kidding? National Twinkie Day. National Teflon Day. Plan Your Epitaph Day. President Taramira Day. I don't know what country. And there's a Sorry Charlie Day. Tartan Day. And White House Easter egg roll. Okay, whoa. That's a lot of holidays. Okay. Did you guys do that? Okay. I want to look for what is Dingus Day. I have never heard of that. This is news. I say it's news. I love you, Marmalade. I love you, silly boy. My silly. Oh, careful, buddy. Careful, Mom. Oh, I see that yours. I see that yours. Yes, I love you. Yes, I love you. Okay. Oh, a Polish holiday. Okay. Look, I saw it looked like they were in tartans. I was thinking Scottish. But it marks the end of Lent and the joy of Easter for Polish Americans. Okay. That's interesting. So, dingus isn't an insult? I need to do further investigation on this. This is my investigative reporting. It's akin to calling someone a silly goose or a goof. Okay? So it's not like nasty, but where did the origins? See if it mentions this. Right. Like etymology and origins. Somewhat murky term first appeared in the early 20th century. Okay. Do that in thingamajig, I know, but I don't consider dingus. Okay. What other, is there any other news going on now? Oh, I didn't remember that. Let's see. Oh, I suppose I should look at what the name of that movie was. With honors, okay. Yeah, I knew it was college, but I didn't remember anything about it. And, let's see what else is going on. Okay, was anything What other news stories are there? Oh, let's look at this. This looks interesting. The Holy Grail of shipwrecks is still underwater. So is its staggering $17 billion fortune. Whoa, that's, oh my goodness. Considered the world's richest shipwreck, the San Jose was found off the coast of Colombia in 2015. Research into the gold coins now scattered on the ocean floor offered insights into the decorative pieces minted in Lima. And I believe Lima is the capital of Peru. Valued at a modern-day $17 billion, the San Jose's bounty is still untouched. Exploration of the San Jose shipwreck and the precious metal coins it's scattered about. Oh, don't puke on my clothes, Misfit. Oh no, cat vomit. Okay, excuse me, I will be right back. Gotta go deal with that. Okay, I have some new laundry to do now. Yeah. Let's get back to the second treasure. Let's see. Alright, yes. Exploration of the San Jose shipwreck and the precious metal coins it scattered about 1,970 feet below the ocean surface off the coast of Colombia confirmed it really was the richest shipwreck in the world. Considered the holy grail of all shipwrecks, the Spanish galleon San Jose blew up and sank in 1708 at the hands of British cannons, and it took with it what experts have estimated to be $17 billion in modern-day wealth, largely in the form of coins from 10 years of taxes saved up from the Americas. The shipwreck was first located in 2015. A 2025 study published in the journal Antiquity showed how using remotely operated vehicles allowed researchers to get close to the underwater coins and confirmed that the wreck found in 2015, which launched a custody battle between Colombia and Spain, really is the long-sought San Jose with an untold number of coins still on the seafloor. Just stir my coffee. Okay. Among the key finds are hand-struck, irregularly shaped coins, known as cobs in English and macuinas in Spanish, macuquinas, that served as a primary currency in the Americas for more than 2 centuries. The study's lead author, Daniela Vargas Ariza, wrote about the coins often cut from gold or silver ingots. Ariza is a maritime archaeologist at Columbia's Marmalade. Don't you dare go on hyper right now. Stop it. Columbia's Almirante Padilla Naval Cadet School in Cartagena and the Colombian Institute of Anthropology and History in Bogota. The exact number of coins visible is difficult to determine due to the nature of the underwater site, but the cobs identified in high-resolution photos taken by the ROV, which I am guessing because they're mentioned it, stands for remotely operated vehicle. It shows they have an average diameter of 1.3 inches and weigh 27 grams. An estimated 200 tons of gold, silver, and uncut gemstones. That's a lot of wealth in the water. Whoa. The photographs did help add some detail to what's known about the shipwreck's treasure. One side of the coins featured a Jerusalem cross, a large cross with 4 smaller crosses, along with a shield featuring a castle and lions with a dotted border. Ooh, I like the shield. On the flip side, the central design features the Pillars of Hercules above the waves of the sea. The researchers said the design of the waves offers an identifying element for coins coming from the Lima Mint. Coins also feature marks of an assayer, an expert who tests metal purity, hammered out on the edges. The researchers believe the evidence gleaned from the cobs help substantiate the long-held hypothesis that this wreck truly is the San Jose. Okay, so they think it is, but they're not 100% sure. Okay. I'm going to go on a limb and say for $17 billion, you better be sure. Just saying. This case study highlights the value of coins as key chronological markers in the identification of shipwrecks, particularly those from the Tierra Firme fleet. Ariza wrote, "The sinking of the ship at this site must have occurred after 1707, the year the coins were minted. This, along with the presence of Chinese porcelain from the Kangxi period of 1662 to 1722 AD, and the inscriptions on the cannon dating to 1665, suggests the ship sank in the early 18th century." The features on the coins also help determine the route taken by the sunken vessel, including how the cobs were likely sourced from Peruvian mines. Minting of gold coins began at the Lima Mint in 1696. There's also historical context important in identifying the wreck. In 1706, the Viceroy Marquis de Casteldastrias arrived in Peru to reactivate the Portobello Fair and send accumulated taxes of a decade to the Iberian Peninsula. In late 1707, Peruvian merchants and officials traveled to Puerto Perico on the Pacific coast of Panama. Oh my gosh, way too many P's there, dude. According to the study. There they met the Tierra Firme fleet commanded by the galleon San Jose, which held a monopoly on transporting royal treasures between South America and the Iberian Peninsula. After the Portobello Fair, the San Jose departed for Cartagena carrying goods and metals, including the cobs. The San Jose galleon, the authors wrote, is the only ship that matches these characteristics. Words are hard. I'm drinking more coffee. Cobs were the primary way the Spanish transported large volumes of wealth from the Americas to Europe, so these coin hoards likely formed part of the royal treasure dispatched from Peru by Casteldastrias. But when the fleet of 18 ships left Cartagena bound for Spain on June 8, 1708, it was attacked by 5 British warships during the War of the Spanish Succession. The cannon battle resulted in the exploding of San Jose's gunpowder stores, sinking the 150-foot-long ship. Okay, and that's the end of that story. Well, that was interesting. So what would you do with $17 billion? Oh, I began my own place in Heartbeat, and I would definitely be. I would get every single dress my new, have my mama rebuilt, remade by an artist, and like I said, I want an extra outfit for him, and I have at least 4 choices. I can't decide. I go for all of them. I would just get who cares? I got my 17 billion will buy me 4 outfits for my VTuber model. If it doesn't, that would be kind of weird. Yeah. So again, more education. Well, let's see. Where do I have Max Miller on my list? I haven't watched one. These are usually short. Okay, well, yes, I have way too many on my thing, I know. Okay, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I got time for one video. Ooh, I like Spice Pie, but I'm not a big... Oh, I want to watch this. Yeah, timing's right. Him and Hardtack. If you watched him before, we gotta watch it now.
Your upgrade is ready, Miss Langley.
My upgrade?
Yes, enjoy.
See y'all later.
Experience the sounds of Nashville with Chase Sapphire Reserve.
Yeah, I heard they upped the annual fee by a few $100.
Say hello to Sara Lee Half Loaf.
One of their credit cards.
Half Loaf, right fit.
Could you survive in steerage on a Victorian
Okay,
passenger
make
ship?
it full
I don't think I could, but I do want to experience a little bit of what they ate. So today I am going to be making a mash of sea biscuits, salt pork, and the tiniest bit of vegetables, a dish called biscuit hash. So thank you to Hungry Root for sponsoring this video as we set sail in steerage. This time on Tasting History. On this channel, I have done a series all about the Titanic, and frankly, a lot of you probably found me that way. And in that series, I did a video on what the third class ate, and I talked about how it was such an improvement compared to what those in steerage, or third class, were eating in the decades previous. Like, through much of the 19th century, if you were on a passenger ship in steerage, you were basically eating the same things that the crew was eating, except that you actually had to do the cooking. In 1874, while aboard the Northumberland on a voyage from Britain to Australia, Joseph Sams wrote, "The third class have their rations given to them and have to make up their own food, take it to the cookhouse, and afterwards fetch it and take it to their mess room." Now, exactly what those rations were depended on how long you were at sea, but in 1855, the British Parliament passed the Passengers Act, which set a minimum standard of treatment for people on passenger ships, and when it came to the cuisine, the minimums included various amounts of flour, oatmeal, rice, dried peas, potatoes, salt beef and pork, tea, sugar, salt, mustard, pepper, vinegar, and of course ample amounts of Navy biscuits or hardtack. Only if
There
you
we
were
go.
sailing for over 84 days.
Okay, I feel better hearing that sound again. I was thinking he better do that sound when he does it, or else something is wrong.
Did you get butter, raisins, suet, preserved meat, and lime juice to stave off scurvy? Then you might also have access to some fresh vegetables every once in a while, namely just after you went into port. Now, because they're just eating these rations, there are no actual menus from this period for third class, really. There are plenty of menus for first and second class, but not really any for third class until a little bit later on. So when deciding exactly what dish to make, I wanted to turn to a cookbook that was written for sailors cooking in these ships. The book was published in 1894 and is called Cookery for Seamen, and it includes a recipe which uses many of the ingredients that were part of this ration called biscuit hash. Cold meat cookery. Ingredients: 6 pounds broken biscuits, steeped, 2 pounds cold salt beef or pork, a half-pound dripping, 2 onions, 1 cooked carrot, 1 cooked turnip, 1 teaspoonful pepper, 1 teaspoonful mixed spice. Method: chop the meat, onions, and vegetables finely, squeeze the water well out of the biscuits, and rub them through a coarse wire sieve. Add all the other ingredients and mix thoroughly. Put it into a baking tin and brown in a moderate oven until firm. Cut into squares and serve. So this is not a glamorous meal, and frankly, with that ratio of a lot of ship's biscuits and very little spices, I'm gonna guess this is not a particularly flavorful dish. If you want a lot of flavor, you need to go with first class ticket, I guess. Or you could make a wonderful dish from today's sponsor, Hungry Root. Hungry Root is like having your own personal meal planner and your own personal grocery shopper. All you do is tell them what you like to eat, and if you're trying to follow any specific diet, like low calorie, high protein, dairy-free, gluten-free, vegetarian, and then they will plan your menu choosing from over 50,000 chef-crafted recipes. The recipes and ingredients are shipped directly to your door, so you don't have to do any grocery shopping, and they screen out over 200 different additives, things like high fructose corn syrup and artificial sweeteners and preservatives. They offer an array of snacks and meals to fit pretty much every lifestyle. Like, if you only want recipes that can be truly made in 15 minutes or less, then that's what they're going to send you, and they're going to be delicious. So if you want to see why I love Hungry Root, then give them a try by heading to hungryroot.com and use my code TASTINGHISTORY, and you will get 40% off of your first box, plus a free item in every box for life. That is 40% off and a free item of your choice in every box for life when you use my code TASTINGHISTORY at hungryroot.com. Now, don't make your free item ship's biscuits. You're going to have to make those yourself. So to do that, we're going to start by cutting this recipe way down because it makes enough to, well, feed a crew. So we're going to cut it in about 1/4, and it's still going to be a lot of food. Now, these ship's biscuits, or Navy biscuits, were an over-baked, dried hard bread that could last for months at sea or even years on land. In the American military, these were usually called hardtack. And I
They're
made them
good.
here on the channel before.
Yeah.
In fact, I did a whole video on them. So here's just a refresher. Take 3 pounds or 1.4 kilograms of whole wheat flour and add a couple teaspoons of salt and about a quart of water. That's going to be just enough to allow the dough to come together. Then you want to knead it until you can't needs it no more. Honestly, you cannot knead this enough. At least 20 minutes, maybe even longer. Then divide the dough into 18 equal pieces and form each into a ball, and then roll each ball into a disc about a 1/4 inch thick. You can also roll out a bunch of the dough and then use a cookie cutter to cut them out. Either way works. Set them on a baking tray and then punch some holes in the top just like you would a cracker. This will help them bake evenly and not puff up. And then put them into the oven and bake at 300 degrees Fahrenheit, 150 Celsius for 3 hours. And then you are going to turn down the oven to about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, 95 Celsius, or really as low as your oven can go. And you're going to bake for another 3 or 4 hours or until they are pretty much hard as a rock. At that point, you can measure out 1.5 pounds or about 680 grams and then break them up. Now, these things are very hard. They were often called molar breakers because of what they did to people's teeth. And so they need to be soaked in water, but first they need to be broken up into little pieces. So you have to pound them with a hammer or a heavy rolling pin, and to prevent them from going absolutely everywhere, you want to put them in a bag or wrap them in cloth. And even then, in the words of the recently departed Neil Sedaka, breaking up is hard to do. But once they're in fairly small pieces, you can put them in a big bowl and pour some boiling water over them, and then after a few minutes they will have soaked up much of that water and you can add some more. Then soak them for at least an hour or two, but preferably like 6 or 7 hours, even
No
overnight.
marmalade. No.
Once
no,
they
you're
are
tasty.
nice and soft, it says to
Marmalade.
push them through
Ow.
a coarse
Oh.
sieve. I used a colander, and it did actually work. I was kind of surprised, but it was also a real pain in the butt. You end up with a sort of wet biscuit dust, which when collected all together, it kind of compounds into something that looks like peanut butter with about 1% of the flavor. For any flavor in this dish, it is not sea biscuits that we're looking at. No, we need to look to the other ingredients in the recipe. That would be a 1/2 pound or 225 grams of salt pork or bacon will work, a 1/4 cup or 55 grams of beef drippings or tallow, a 1/2 onion, a small carrot or a 1/4 of a large carrot, a 1/4 turnip, a 1/4 teaspoon pepper, and a 1/4 teaspoon mixed spice. Now this is usually a mix of things like cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg, ginger, coriander, and a little bit of clove, and I used them all, but really you just need a pinch of each to hit that 1/4 teaspoon.
Okay, I'm gonna say that actually looks pretty decent. I mean, it'd be tasty, you know, a lot of different things. The salt pork would have most of the flavor, I presume. Even better if you use bacon. 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 I'm done.
Also, it calls for the onion to be chopped fine, as well as the carrot and the turnip. Now, the carrot and the turnip, it says, should be cooked, whereas the onion is actually raw when it goes in. But when it came to the carrot and the turnip, I decided to just boil mine for a couple minutes until they were soft. The recipe also says to chop up the salt pork nice and fine, but it does not mention cooking it. Now, technically, this dish is going to go into the oven for a little while, but I don't think it's enough to really cook the salt pork, at least how I would want it cooked, and undercooked salt pork just does not entice me, so I decided to put mine in a hot skillet and cook it just for a few minutes until it started to brown. Then we can add everything together. The mashed up biscuits, the chopped cooked vegetables, and the chopped raw onion. Then the chopped cooked pork, the mixed spice, and the pepper, along with the tallow. And I did this in 2 phases so I could make sure that everything was well mixed. So repeat adding all those things together and mix it again, and then put the hash into a baking dish and smooth the top. Then the recipe says you're going to bake this until it is browned on top, but since it's already brown on top, then that's not much help, so I made the executive decision to bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 175 Celsius for 30 minutes. And while that bakes, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to Tasting History. It surely does help out the channel as we head back to the 19th century and head out onto the open sea and ask the question, was steerage really as bad as I think it was?
It probably was.
Shiny desk, floor, and fresh laundry. Check, check, check.
What don't you do?
Algebra.
Come on, dads.
So what exactly does steerage mean? Well, originally it actually referred to the area near the steering apparatus of the ship, the rudder. It was a particularly loud and cramped part of the ship, hence the cheapest ticket aboard. Now, by the time we start to get to early steamships, which typically still had sails as well, steerage is often moved to the very front of the ship and/or to the very bottom, both of which were areas with the most rocking and with no natural light. Like when I was working on a cruise ship, my cabin was at the very, very front of the ship, all the way down at the bottom, but in a big modern cruise ship, it doesn't feel so bad. In these old boats, I think it was not great. Now, during this period, that is the middle of the 19th century, first class was typically called saloon class as they had nice dining saloons, and second class was cabin class, and that's because they, along with first class, had cabins, private rooms to sleep and dress in. That would imply that steerage did not have access to such a perk, because sometimes they would actually just have hammocks, or if they were fortunate, then bunks built into the ship. These bunks were rapidly knocked together with coarse planks. They looked more like dog kennels than anything else, especially as the place was so gloomy and dark. No light coming down except through the fore and after hatchways, both of which were covered with little houses called booby hatches. And most of the time, your bunk didn't come with any bedding, so if you wanted a pillow or a blanket, then you had to bring that along with you. But leave your big comforter at home because you don't have a lot of space to play with. Our berths were pretty well ventilated, but very confined and dark. The distance between our berths for the purpose of dressing is 2 feet broad and 6 feet long, so confined that only one can dress at once, and even in this small space, we have to build part of our luggage. One of my favorite descriptions of steerage accommodations actually comes from a second-class passenger, none other than Robert Louis Stevenson, the author of Treasure Island. See, when he was young, he traveled across the Atlantic aboard the steamship Devonia. Now, he probably had the kind of money that he could have afforded first class. He came from a pretty well-to-do family, but he decided to go second class, partly to save money probably, and partly to add to the sense of adventure, and to give him better access to the steerage class, which he often visited. Describing their sleeping arrangements, he said steerage is lined with 8 pens of 16 bunks apiece, 4 bunks below and 4 above on either side. At night, the place is lit with 2 lanterns, 1 to each table. More dismal circumstances it would be hard to imagine. From all around in the dark bunks, the scarcely human noises of the sick joined into a kind of farmyard chorus. Sick indeed. Some were actually sick with illnesses that they brought with them, despite usually going through medical examinations before boarding. But many people were also just seasick because these boats were a-rockin'. Couple that with the fact that it stank because very often the steerage passengers all had to share 1 or 2 little privies amongst maybe 100 of them, and there were no showers or baths. Usually all there was a single basin up on the top deck that had enough water in it that you could wash your face and your nooks and crannies, and that was about it. Now, by the end of the 19th century, you do start to see some decent baths, or at least more access to basins, but on those early liners, it was rank.
Okay, that's like my mom really loved Little House in that time period. She kept wanting to say she'd live in that's the time period she wanted to live in. And I always had a 2-word response to her: modern plumbing. I like being clean and having a flushing toilet. Very important.
To descend on an empty stomach into steerage number 1 was an adventure that required some nerve. The stench was atrocious. Each respiration tasted in the throat like some horrible kind of cheese, and the squalid aspect of the place was aggravated by so many people worming themselves into their clothes in the twilight of the bunks. Another thing to make you sick, or at least to make you heave, were the rats. For this some nights past, several of the passengers in our cabin have been annoyed by rats, which even at times have come into our beds. And tonight we were awoke by a lady screaming, who, being awake, saw a rat walking on the partition above her head. Though the rats were hardly kept to steerage, they basically had their run of the ship. Not so for the people, though. While Stevenson in second class could go visit steerage, it didn't work the other way around. But on those early ships, the division between the different classes was usually little more than a rope or a partition. It wasn't like the Titanic where everyone was separated on different decks. In fact, Stevenson comments on this lack of proper division because you can hear the steerage passengers being sick, the rattle of tin dishes as they sit at meals, and varied accents in which they converse, the crying of their children terrified by this new experience, or the clean, flat smack of the parental hand in chastisement. It's interesting to read his writings because while he does make an effort to get to know the people in steerage and see what their life was like and kind of commiserate with them, he can't help but also let many of his biases in throughout his writings. Like when he wrote, "In the steerage there are males and females. In the second cabin, ladies and gentlemen." Now I'm going to be sick. Now, obviously, just like airlines today, the experience could vary wildly depending on which line it was, the age of the ship, or where it was going, what part of the world it was actually sailing in. Also, there was the question of, was this a ship with first, second, and third class, or was it an emigrant ship just really of steerage passengers only? Because those typically were not the best experience. In 1849, Herman Melville, author of Moby Dick, wrote a novel called Redburn, His First Voyage. This was a semi-autobiographical story about his time on a ship as a young sailor.
When I used to think about taxes, I would just cringe. I used to use a CPA.
This ship, for the most part, was shuttling people between the U.S. and England and back, very often immigrants from the Irish potato famine as they fled to America.
Oh, and just like when I mentioned the famine's being politically caused more often than environmentally caused, Irish potato famine is a prime example of that. And I might discuss that at a later date for information, but yes. The British were responsible, as I'm going to say, as history thing, so just want to point that out.
And in it, he talks about how he looks down to see the steerage passengers coming up to cook at what he calls the passenger's galley. This galley was a large open stove or iron range made expressly for emigrant ships, wholly unprotected from weather, and where alone the emigrants are permitted to cook their food while at sea. He says in the morning when he was on watch, as soon as the sun came up, a man from steerage would come up onto deck to light the fire. And no sooner would the fire be fairly made than up came the old women, the men, and children, each armed with an iron pot or saucepan, and invariably a great tumult ensued as to whose turn to cook came next. Sometimes the more quarrelsome would fight and upset each other's pots and pans. What he says he found really terrible was with that many passengers just using one stove, you were actually very lucky to get even one cooked meal a day, because as soon as the sun went down, he had orders to douse the fire in the stove with salt water, and anyone still in line who hadn't got to use it was just out of luck and had to go below decks and eat their rations uncooked and just hope that tomorrow they could get up earlier and get at the front of the line. It seems it was a much better setup on ships that had first, second, and third class because there was a dedicated galley below decks that was much better equipped for the steerage passengers to use. But this came with its own difficulties because you would have to watch as the wonderful foods for the first and second class were being prepared alongside your mush. The first class live like fighting cocks, and it is rather galling to see all the pastry, etc., and good things being taken under your very nose from the galley to the chief saloon. And while the third class experience did improve greatly when lines like Cunard and the White Star Line began building the massive ocean liners we associate with Titanic, that doesn't mean that all of the ships got that upgrade right away.
Oh, and Cunard is still around. The Cunard cruise line is still around, just so you know. I want to go on a cruise someday.
As late as 1913, a year after Titanic sank, many third-class passengers were still having a similar experience to the one that their grandparents had had. As soon as the freight was stored and the forward hatch covered, the steerage passengers settled down for the night and produced their bedding and cooking utensils. Some of them eat rice and some of them eat cornmeal mush, but all of them eat with their fingers. Somewhere a fire is provided where they may cook their food, and plenty of water may be had at a convenient faucet. But on some other ships, the upgrades had actually started decades earlier, like back to Robert Louis Stevenson, who in 1879 was sailing in the second class. He wrote, "In my own experience, the principal difference between our table and that of the true steerage passenger was the table itself, and the crockery plates from which we ate. In addition to porridge, which was common to all, we had Irish stew, sometimes a bit of fish, and sometimes rissoles. The dinner of soup, roast fresh beef, boiled salt junk, and potatoes was, I believe, exactly common to the steerage and the second cabin. Only I have heard it rumored that our potatoes were of a superior brand." They were probably preserved potatoes, which, no matter what the brand was, were not nearly as good as an actual potato, of course. Now, I really wish that I had been able to get a hold of something like the popular Edwards patent preserved potato, which many ocean liners of the time carried, but alas, it seems that they went out of business a long time ago, so I'm going to just have some regular old mashed potatoes alongside my square of biscuit hash from the book Cookery for Seamen. And here we are, a meal of biscuit hash and potatoes which might have been prepared and eaten by the steerage class on a Victorian ocean liner. It actually kind of smells good, so I'm curious what it tastes like. Let me try to get like some onions and other stuff in there, but I also want part of the top. And here we go, bon appetit. That's not great.
It's food.
I mean, if I was really hungry, I think if you put a bunch of gravy on it, it would be fine. The problem is, it kind of turns to like a paste in your mouth. The only texture is coming from the onions, which thank goodness they went in raw, because there's still some crunch there. The issue is that with that vast amount of biscuit and that very teeny amount of mixed spice and just soupçon of pepper, you might as well have just left it out. Honestly, it's insulting to the spices to have even put them in there. It's just super bland. You know? It was steerage. It's just what it was. Though what's crazy is that even though it was steerage, tickets actually still cost a lot. They could be like a half a year's wages for the average workman. And you're having to do the cooking. Not great. Though I have to say, it is not the worst thing that I could be eating, because it turns out that there is actually a class that was even lower than steerage. I learned about this while researching the video, and it turns out that on some ships in some parts of the world at this time, on short voyages, like less than a week, there was essentially a fourth class known as deck passengers. These were people who had a ticket to just be on deck. No matter if it was raining or storming, day or night, they had to stay on deck. And Rudyard Kipling actually mentions something about what they were eating when he was on a short voyage from Rangoon to Singapore. "Our deck passengers, I know, fared sumptuously on offal begged from the steward and flavored with insect powder to keep the ants off. So who am I to complain about biscuit hash? But I'm not going to eat the rest of this. I'm so glad that I didn't make the full amount. That would have been so much food just gone to waste. And I would hate that. Anyway, don't make it. Make something else. But it's fun to read about, fun to learn about, and I will see you next time on Tasting History.
Could just add the gravy and eat the rest of it. Or do as I suggest and add bacon. Because bacon. Go back to YouTube. Yeah, I just had to hear the heart attack noise. Oh, I didn't like it yet. Must like it. Yeah. I don't watch his... I don't know why I stopped watching his videos so much. But yeah, I need to watch one again that had the heart attack sounds to just feel normal. Yeah, only a few minutes left, so let's see if there's anything left on Twitter. Any new news? Oh. Okay. The news. Reverend Straub are not having a child. She is not pregnant. Okay. Let's see what is trending. Oh yeah. Go with something no one cares about. Yes, the royal family. This was actually a few years ago, right? Yeah, this is 2019. So this is, and in New Zealand, it looks like Christchurch, I think, is New Zealand. So that, and this also was older. Yeah, this was from March, not today. So yeah, but yes, people are very upset with the royal family in the UK for not being as friendly towards Christians as they are towards Islam, Muslims, whatever terminology you want to use. And my understanding is the royal family, they are also the defenders of the Church of England. That's kind of one of their roles. So they are not doing their duty. And I do kind of want to snicker at saying duty, but I'm not going to right now. And as a palate cleanser to close, let's look at cute kitties. Okay, wait, is there more? Oh, wolves. Wolves are, I love wolves. Look at cute little kitty. Uh, I saw Van Helsing. I wasn't impressed with the movie. My goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's something about Jesus. Crimson Desert again. Oh yeah. If I had the 17 billion, I would definitely have a dungeon. I mean, yeah, basement, hidden passages in my new place. Yes. Why wouldn't you? Oh, that's John Rhys Davies. Okay. And had like replicas of Gimli's axes, and so of course you want to do it. Well, this is either some more AI stuff going on with cats, of course. Oh, Ove Ted and Stu Pai Pai. Kitty. Uh, okay, did that really happen? I went, okay, one. Oh, what should mine doing? Oh, that was from Inglorious Bastards, I think. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it was true. It was. Sure, I Sukta board game dating back between 2600 to 2400 BCE, which is before Common Era, and it was discovered in Oman. And they finally figured out how to play it. Yeah. So don't worry, it was at a Bronze Age settlement site, and it is not Jumanji has not been discovered. We're all okay. So let me switch back to full screen. Yeah. I can see you. Yeah, I might be having another sugar high. I've been eating jelly beans all morning, and it's now almost 2 o'clock. And I think I've got 5 or 6 jelly beans left to go. So, anyways, I hope you guys were at least mildly entertained, or at least not bored out of your minds. I appreciate you. Here, let me close the browser out. And I hope to see you next time. Well, I will be uploading these to YouTube and just doing a small video tonight, not another CatSCAN news because I did the news today already. And so then tomorrow I will do another news. And I don't know if I want to do another trivia or not. Tomorrow, I gotta think about it. I kind of, I think it actually works better if I do it in my pre-recorded ones because then I know sometimes you guys can't guess fast enough because you have to type and I just have to talk, and me that would work better. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a not awful Monday, and I will see you later. Appreciate you watching and stopping in. Why is it not waving? There we go.